call the special called meeting of the Nelson County Board of Education to order on February 9th at 5:30 p.m. Please stand and join us as we say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Be seated, please. Item 2, agenda and meeting goals.
So tonight's meeting is a special called meeting, similar to a meeting from a couple weeks ago, where we are reviewing the authorization to issue bonds for the Thomas Nelson Community Campus Facility Project. And secondly, to allow the District Finance Corporation to adopt a resolution to issue bonds. Within this meeting, there are potentially 2 distinct meetings: the special called meeting of the Nelson County Board of Education and the meeting of the Nelson County District Finance Corporation.
Okay. Upon legal advice, this meeting will be adjourned.
You can't just adjourn. You're running out of the final motion to adjourn.
Oh, excuse me. I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll second the motion to adjourn.
I have a motion.
Who did the first?
Yes.
I have a motion made by me, second by Ms. Deaton.
Voice vote,
We'll have a
please.
voice call. Mr. Norman?
Yes, I would like to adjourn the meeting.
Yay.
Ms. Deaton?
Yay.
No.
No.
Yes. Meeting adjourned.
What the hell's the matter with y'all?
I said, and I meant it.
So, Mr. Ferris, you
Yes, Mr. Ferris.
It wasn't him. She said it wasn't Mr. Ferris.
It was Mr. Ferris.
I think, hey, really, there's a whole place in here that's trying to like get y'all to talk. Come on now.
Miss D, Miss D, do you have anything to say? I mean, you are legal, counsel. Do you know why she would say that?
She is not counsel to the board. I'm not counsel to the board.
No, I'm not saying to the board, but I mean, why would anybody tell her after she called a meeting to?
I'm happy to talk to anybody, but not in an open forum like this. So you're welcome to call me. I'm happy to talk to anybody. So not in an open forum.
Not in a public place.
Or Tracy, are you going to say?
Joke.
Are you going to say?
Are you all proud? Are you all proud of it?
So I'm going to make a statement really quick. Yes, this meeting was called by our board chair just 48 hours ago.
Hang on a second, please. She's telling us something.
And while I want to make sure that the educators in this room and the students across our district understand, we got your back. We will have... While we will continue to work to make sure that we are supporting you guys and supporting the students, that the students all across our district, from every corner of our district, will have equal access. Guys, remember this. Show up. Continue to show up. While your voices are maybe not quite being listened to, we hear you.
And we appreciate you hearing us, but the concern is if we can't, if the board as a whole can't even have a meeting, and 2 special called meetings, where, I mean, what is going, I mean, it is insane. I don't know how you can do anything any better than what you're already doing. And we applaud you, we're applauding you, and we applaud Mr. Jackey for doing what you're doing, but I mean, it looks like you're outnumbered. And the 3 of them.
You guys are the numbers. You have to continue to show up. You all have to show up and hold us accountable as a board. We have been working for 20 months. And only a small faction of our community is speaking right now. A very small faction. As you all continue to show up and speak loud and speak clear and speak for what you want, we will work hard to make sure that we continue to provide this. Trust me, we are worried about our schools. We are worried about our students. There's nothing more that we can do than to beg you guys to continue to show up.
We will show up.
We'll be there, Tracy.
Hey,
Every step of the way, we won't be
Yeah.
there, but I don't know.
And just to share, I mean, you know, there's the good and the bad of social media, obviously, and there's lots of bad that has been occurring with false information. And I know that Ms. Bowling and myself, you know, we try with as much information as we know. Neither one of us are experts. In fact, I've never met a board member, period, across Kentucky who's an expert in all aspects. But we'll try and answer questions that people wonder. I know that people have said, well, this would cause taxes to go up. The triple nickel has been there since 2004. That was when the 3rd nickel was voted on by a school board way back then, almost 20 years ago. And whenever you hear phrases like triple nickel, what that means is there were 3 very distinct time periods that previous school boards, previous to Ms. Bowling, previous to myself, and I've been on the board for 15 years, that voted to have that construction nickel. And a lot of times people will talk about, you know, why don't we just use that nickel to pay for more in teacher salaries? Legally, you can't.
If they were listening.
Yeah, I know.
to learn.
Yeah, I know, Ms. Clark. So, you know, the thing that I think that we all need to continue to do is to make sure we're somehow trying to discern false information. Sometimes it may be, put your hand down. Sometimes it may be because someone doesn't understand all of the intricacies of the funding mechanisms, or sometimes it could be because someone is actually trying to, you know, come up with an alternate story about how those nickels work. So those 3 nickels, and actually those 3 nickels, I think it equates to really about 16.8 cents. So I don't remember, I'll admit, I don't remember what the total tax rate is per $100 that we have for our school district. 70-something, okay? Let's just know we could go and look it up, okay? The 16.8 cents at the very bottom of that total amount is what is dedicated to provide funding for construction, for facilities only. It doesn't get to be used for other things. And there's not going to be a 4th nickel or a 5th nickel or anything that would have to be done, because based upon projecting what those nickels do, and those nickels are tied to how property growth starts going up. You know, this past 4 years, all of our property values increased quite a bit. And that's because the PBA reassessed them. And because those property values go up, there's someone in Frankfurt, the mechanism in Frankfurt, I'll call it, okay? Someone in Frankfurt that goes, well, here's this formula. Let's put in those new property values that Nelson County has, and it's going to spit out some number that says, based upon property values, based upon the fact you've got the triple nickel already, here's how much money could be projected over the next X number of years if the property growth kept going the same, or if you tried to be a little bit more conservative of what property growth, property value growth would be, it would be a little bit more of a conservative number. again, I mean, I think that's one thing that, you know, we want to continue to make sure people understand, is that there isn't additional taxes that will be levied for the construction work. So that's one piece of information I hope that all of us, we start listening a little bit closer to. We start, you know, really being a little bit more discerning about the dollars that are talked about the numbers that are talked about. Okay, again, Ms. Bowling, and hit me if I'm wrong, Ms. Bowling's not an expert on finances.
I am not.
I'm not an expert on finances. But every single year, every board member is required by law to have certain training that deals with finances. And so that's the type of information that we get that we hopefully can then make the best decisions for all students within Nelson County. And that's part of what's also caused the discussion to start, what are we at now, about 20 months ago? It caused us to actually say, well, what are the things then that we need all students to be able to do? Quite honestly, for years, every school district, just about, every public school district in Kentucky, when it comes to facilities, they've said, well, you know, we got this old building. We just need to build another old square box building and just move the kids into that. Or some school districts have said, hey, we've got a lot of student growth. We need to add on to that square box brick and mortar building and just add some more square boxes onto it. You know, one of the things that I think, and again, I don't want to speak for you, but I commend the community roundtables that happen throughout the 2020 calendar year, starting around April-ish. I mean, I commend, and I see a few of the faces in here, Mr. Muirfield, Ms. Clark. There's probably a few parents in here as well who ended up giving up a lot of time in the evenings to be part of that local planning committee. They used all of that information. They used all of this kind of data of how much money could be projected off of those triple nickels that are already there, not being added on to the tax rate, already there, and said, you know, instead of building square boxes, let's first ask, what do our students need? What do all of our students need and require? And out of that conversation, you know, we had people that were highly skilled educators, administrators, teachers. We had people that were parents, parents and educators that ended up being part of that LPC. You know, we had, and I never can remember her official title, but Ms. Crow, who works
Planning and zoning.
Planning and zoning, right, who said, here are the predictions based upon what we're seeing as far as population growth, where housing permits, building permits are being provided. And based upon all of that, here's some more data. And that group of 19 people, I mean, and Ms. Bowling was one of them. She was the board representative. Overwhelmingly voted to say, here's what our students need, and these are the types of buildings they then need to look like. We kind of flipped things, I think, which is scary sometimes. Sometimes it's very easy just to say, well, we had a house with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a kitchen. Let's just build us another new house with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a kitchen. Maybe it'll look a little different, but still the same stuff. But those highly skilled educators and, you know, parents and other members in business members in the community came together and said, let's think about things a little bit differently. And so that's what's kind of gone us to the point of a different looking district facility plan that does have the funding that would be available for it. Now, what does that mean as far as we go forward? I'll be very honest. I mean, Ms. Bowling and myself, all we can do is we can speak about the information that we know. We can speak about the perspectives that we have, that we bring to it. Please do not ask, because I don't have an answer. I can't give you an answer. Do not ask, you know, why was a special called meeting called 2 weeks ago or called again tonight, or, you know, why is advice of counsel to just cancel or adjourn the meeting. You know, we really don't have the answer. It's not that we don't want to speak, we don't have the answer. And So, Ms. Bowling, I cut you off. I apologize.
Well, I think, if we're going to use this time productively, which I think we should, and again, I appreciate you guys being here because it does give us an opportunity to speak to you guys not on social media. And I would advise you guys not to find your information from social media because for the last 20 months, very misleading. So one of the things that, I've heard people ask and seen people ask on social media is why don't we just give places like Boston and New Haven more money? Well, if you've been listening for 20 months, that's not possible. We can't fund those schools in a way that's going to give them the same opportunities that students at OKH have. And to be fair, even the students at Bloomfield Middle School lack opportunities because their numbers are not sufficient. But Boston, New Haven, we not only ask those students to do more or do less and get less, we ask our teachers to triple what we ask our teachers in other parts of our district to do. We ask those teachers to work harder with less every single day. And why?
And that is why we have a great turnover there.
And we're getting ready to see that again. But here's the thing, people. Show up. Continue to speak the truth. Continue to share that information with your neighbors. Continue to point them in the right direction and say, if you've got questions, we are more than happy to answer them.
I mean, I know that they're going back to the funding piece again. And again, I am not a funding expert, but after 15 years, I've learned enough that I think I can talk intelligently somewhat to it. There's been conversations that I've heard where, it's been stated, well, it's going to be other funds. It's going to be federal funds, or it's going to be this fund. As of right now, there are some other funds. Those funds specifically, where are you, Miss Roller? Go ahead. Yeah. So specifically, there are some additional funds. We were blessed with people like Miss Roller, Miss Arnold that I see in the back, Dr. Lee, who probably also did a lot of work on it, to where there was a specific $10 million funding that was given to the Nelson County schools specifically for the ATC. Now, that's not part of these construction dollars at all, okay? But as of right now, those are the only additional funds that are even being part of any of the discussion that the board has been having.
And that goes back to the DFP. The district facility plan that the LPC recommended includes not just the Thomas Nelson project that was was hopefully getting funded tonight, but the New Haven project, the Up Center, the Cox's Creek project, Nelson County High School. Those projects are all underneath that DFP.
And to use any of those triple nickels, again, the 3 nickels that were already passed 19 plus years ago, it has to be on that DFP. So the work that Ms. Clark, Mr. Merrifield, others did as part of that local planning committee were identifying what brick and mortar, glass, paint, things like that those triple nickels could be spent on. And which is why I think you were also getting ready to say, Ms. Bowling, about, well, why can't we just put more money to Boston, leave everything like it is, or put more money to New Haven? Because I know a lot of people have been saying, well, why don't you just use that $200 million or that $150 million? I'm going to pick on you, Superintendent Bradley. Those numbers that Superintendent Bradley keeps throwing around. Why don't you just use that and hire more teachers down at New Haven or at Boston? Those are construction bond dollars. You cannot do that. They can only be used on the brick, the mortar, the glass, the facilities that are on that district facilities plan.
And legislation does not let that happen.
Sorry, I just want to chime in for a
Sure.
second. You had talked about everybody showing up. I just want to let you guys know that the Attorney General is going to be in town on this Monday at noon at the Nelson County Library. And that's the only person who can remove a board member, a corrupt board member.
And
You're gonna show up and tell us.
And if you all want to have those conversations, I just ask that you have them, outside of here, because here, Ms. Bowling and I, again, we just wanted to take a few minutes and share what information we did have that we know answers on.
Thank you for having the integrity to stick around and answer questions.
Well,
Appreciate it.
And the public, and here,
But
the
Damon,
public.
I know I'm asking you to answer a question for somebody else, and you're not going to be able to answer it directly. Some point, we got to know what they want, what these three are actually, what this money
Yeah.
is for. So right now, it's just they are putting money in a piggy bank that they
Yeah.
can't touch, and they're never going to be able to give back to us.
And that's a great question, but again, I would say, I apologize, but I can't answer for other people. I mean, that would be a question you would have to directly ask someone
What would
else.
be your impression?
Not even.
Here's the thing about that. I mean, I could give an impression of what Miss Bowling's going to have for dinner tonight, and I'm going to be wrong. I will not speak for other people on that because I don't know what their thinking is. Of course, my thinking is I've never been a politician. Now, people are going to go, oh, well, you got voted, you got elected that position. Yeah, sure, that's the way you get picked. My career since March of 1992 was in education. I started out filling in for a teacher that was on MOA to OVEC, one of the co-ops, as a 7th grade math teacher. So those of you all that are at Boston and New Haven, and a few of you have emailed me and I've responded back, there's one of you that is a math teacher. You may be here tonight at New Haven. And I said, our stories are very similar. I taught 7th grade math as well at the beginning of my career 30 years ago, but our stories ended there. Because whenever I taught math at Shelby County and at Fayette County, I was not the only math teacher. I had peers that I could collaborate with. And that's some of the concern Ms. Bowling brings up, and it's a definite concern whenever, and I talked about this 7 years ago, I think, because I was the one that originally caused the furor that Miss McGuire died.
2015.
Yes, in 2015, showed up and said, oh my God, they're going to close New Haven and Boston and merge them all together. That was me. Because we were sitting in this room as a work session as a school board at the time, and we were looking at test data. And I can remember Mr. Hall was there, and Mr. Pate, one of your predecessors, was there. And I think Nikki Rapier was, and I also believe that Adam Wheatley, who's currently a magistrate on the fiscal court, was there. And I said, listen, if we keep on looking at this data and keep going, yep, there's a problem, let's just leave the building like it is. It's never going to fix it. We're not going to fix what is truly the problem. I didn't have as eloquent words as you did, Ms. Clark. But you said, build me a new building, and it will not solve the challenges I've got at New Haven.
And it's 2022, and we're still fighting the same battle
Yeah.
that
So-
we fought in 2015.
And
Are they going to see that the problem has to be fixed?
that's where, again, I would say Ms. Bowling has said it very eloquently that you have to continue to express your concerns, to ask the questions of, and again to you, I apologize that I don't have answers or I can't even predict or guess, but that's not my place. So I hope you understand that.
No, I but
So
Damon,
as a taxpayer, as a community member, who would we, besides the board members that have already left, is there someone that can tell us legally what is going on here?
It's a great question. I mean, a board could always, or people could always ask questions of an attorney, but that's not for us. I mean,
Okay.
Our next board meeting is February 21st. I think between now and then, we may be able to make a statement on behalf of the board, or we may not be able to make a statement on behalf of the board. Really, all we can say tonight is there was no vote. I can't speak as a board member representative. All I can speak is to the facts of tonight. Will there be an additional meeting in the future? We don't know for sure, other than February 21st in Nelson County High School.
When do the contracts, when is that? Is that tomorrow?
my understanding, and correct me someone if I'm wrong, that the 11th of February is when the pricing that was guaranteed in those contracts expires.
So that's not true.
Okay.
But the contracts are
Yeah.
accepted.
We have accepted the contracts, Nelson County School Board accepted the contracts,
and the bids of the Thomas Nelson Community Campus.
Oh, that's right. I apologize. That is right, because we did that at OKH back
Now
on.
we just don't have a way to pay them.
Correct.
I thought we were doing federally funded and innovative funds.
Incorrect.
That's a key point. I bet that's.
Where did you hear that?
Yeah, we're,
Oh, no, I would love to know where you heard that, Ms. Boachewski, because, I mean, that would allow us to find out that information as well.
Well, there was talk that there was innovative funding and federal funding that was going to help pay for this.
By who? Talk by who?
I believe Mr. Bradley said that to Ms. Berry.
All right, guys. So we will put this, if you go tonight, you can go to nelson.kbotschools.us. We put out an article about the money that we generate. You can go there now and you can read the article we put out about the nickel tax, right? It explains the funding pattern. There's nothing more to say. Over the next 20 years, we'll generate between $165 and $270 million.
that's whether building happens or not. Just so you all understand, that $200 million is whether a building construction happens or not.
And we're still $43 million in debt right now.
And Boston and New Haven students will continue to be put on the back burner, and our educators in that building will be continued to ask to do more.
Can I say something real quick?
We're not going to mess with you.
I can go put that in the car and act like a taxpayer. And a proud parent of kids that came through Nelson County School Districts, okay? I would suggest for you five, and I know that you can't do it because if not, it'd be a quorum as board members.
It looks like they had quorum anyway, because obviously.
Well, there was a quorum because there was 5 here, but I'm saying, I think there may be something maybe misconnected and other board members that need to be reconnected, okay? Number 1 priority, it's our kids. Come to these schools.
Yes.
Okay? Second, it's these teachers that come over here and bust their ass.
Yes.
There's 2 professions in this world that don't get the credit. Teachers and law enforcement.
I think we've kind of shared a little bit of what we know, and again, some people had some questions. Apologies, can't answer. You know, we're still talking about it 7 years later. Yes. There's lots of other little tidbits about, how decisions maybe were made in previous facilities work. Some of it I've discovered from actually taking the time to talk with former board members that were around before I was even on the board. So, there's not a whole lot more that we can really shed light on for you. I apologize.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.